Oh my god.
Magnus Carlsen wasn't just a chess player. He was the chess player.
Played kind of poorly the whole tournament.
What is the one thing you would remember Norway Chess 2025?
Getting Magnus.
A prodigy by the time most kids were learning multiplication tables. Carlsen earned his grandmaster title at just 13 years old. By 19, he was already the world's number one. And in 2013, he snatched the world championship crown and held onto it like a fortress, defending it again and again. His peak FIDE rating, a mind-blowing 2,882, the highest in history. And during his prime, it wasn't just about winning. It was how he won. Calm, ruthless, inevitable. He made 2,800 rated super grandmasters look like amateurs, grinding down positions most humans couldn't even see a win in. For over a decade, Magnus ruled chess with terrifying precision, earning titles across classical, rapid, and blitz formats. But fast forward to today, and something's different. He's now 33, recently married to Ella Malone, a beautiful love story, yes. But while he's embracing personal milestones off the board, on the board, the numbers are shifting. The aura is flickering. And the challengers, they're getting younger, faster, and hungrier. Just this year, India's 18-year-old sensation.
A question to Magnus. The moment that you will remember Norway Chess 2025.
I think it's the same as those Kukai.
Our Pragnananda beat him not once, twice. The Freestyle Chess Grand Slam in Las Vegas. That's not a fluke, that's a pattern. And it doesn't stop there. Kushe Damaraju has crushed Magnus in classical. Arjun Ergasi is climbing the ranks. Even Vishali, Prague's sister, is leading the charge in women's chess. For a man who once dominated legends like Anand and Kramnik without breaking a sweat, drawing or losing two kids born after the year 2005 wasn't part of the plan. Now, with Indian prodigies breathing down his neck and the press whispering about his focus, the question everyone's asking is louder than ever, is this: the slow, stunning downfall of the greatest chess king of our generation? And if so, who's next in line to wear the crown? In early 2024, Magnus Carlsen surprised the world not with a brilliant checkmate, but with a wedding ring. He married Ella Malone, a low-profile Australian with a background in film, fashion, and quiet elegance. While the chess world obsessed over rankings, prep lines, and tournament invitations, Magnus made a different kind of move, one that took him out of the spotlight for a while. Honeymoon photos replaced training camps. Red carpets took precedence over rapid tournaments. And for the first time in years, the king looked away from the board. Was it love? Absolutely. But was it also a turning point? Now, Ella isn't just Magnus's wife. She's become a quiet commentator on the chess world and, surprisingly, on his rivals. In a now viral interview, Ella was asked which rising star reminds her most of Magnus. Her answer: not a European, not a Russian, not an American, but a Pragnananda, the very Indian teenager who's now beating her husband. It was a stunning comment, not just because of who she picked, but because of what it meant. Ella, the person who knows Magnus best, saw something in Pragnananda's style that reminded her of the man who used to dominate every chessboard he touched. And she's not alone. Analysts have noted that Magnus's one-siren preparation has softened, that his killer instinct, once surgical, is now cautious, even passive. His draw rates have increased. His wins, fewer. Even when he wins, they're not the crisp clinical victories of his golden years. I'll put it to me. It's like watching a lion walk slower. Still powerful, but not quite hunting the same way. Supporters say he's evolving, enjoying life, embracing balance. Critics say he's distracted, detached, and dethroning himself. But one thing's clear, as Magnus settles into a new chapter. With Ella, the chess world is shifting fast beneath their feet, and the rivals she once praised, they're not waiting for him to catch up. Asterisk for years. Magnus Carlsen stood virtually alone at the top of a mountain no one seemed able to climb. But now that mountain is crowded, and it's not filled with familiar European grandmasters. It's swarming with teenage phenoms from India, leading the charge. Our Pragnananda, the 18-year-old sensation who's already beaten Magnus multiple times. His game is fast, aggressive, and deeply intuitive. In freestyle chess, where opening prep is removed and instincts reign, Prog didn't just survive, he outplayed the king twice, but Prog isn't alone. Meet Gukesh Damaraju. Just 17 years old, he became the youngest player ever to defeat Magnus in a classical gamma format. Magnus has long dominated. Gukesh plays like a machine with a heart cold in calculations, fearless in execution. Style is steady, unshakable, and disturbingly efficient. Then there's Arjun Eragesi, known for his speed, sharp tactics, and deep preparation. At just 21, Arjun is knocking on the door of 2,750 plus and constantly rattling elite players. He doesn't just want to compete. He wants to dismantle the old guard. Even Vaishaliar, Pragnananda's older sister, is blazing through the women's circuit with a game that mirrors her brother's calm aggression. Together, they represent something bigger than individual success. They represent a national movement. India isn't just producing good chess players, it's producing generational prodigies, all emerging within a span of just a few years. Trained in AI engines, polished through hyper-competitive online blitz, and battle-tested in elite over-the-board tournaments there. It's built for the modern chess world. And perhaps most unsettling of all, they're not afraid of Magnus. For them, Carlsen isn't some untouchable god. He's just the next obstacle, the next name to knock off the list. And slowly, piece by piece, they're doing exactly that. The king isn't falling because he got worse. He's falling because his challengers got better. Asterisk for over a decade, Magnus Carlsen didn't just win, he dominated. Opponents didn't walk into a match hoping to win. They just prayed they could survive. But in recent years, something shifted. For the first time in his reign, the cracks are starting to show. It's not just about losing the prodigies. Like Gukesh or Pragnananda, it's how it's happening. In 2023, Magnus made headlines by withdrawing from the World Championship cycle, citing a lack of motivation. At the time, many thought it was just Magnus being Magnus, bored of routine domination. But now, the theory seems darker. Was it really about boredom or a fear of falling? The stats speak volumes. He's drawn more classical games in the last 2 years than ever before. His signature grind, the ability to squeeze wins out of dead-equal positions, is becoming less reliable. In tournaments where he once crushed the field, he's now scraping by. At Norway Chess 2024, he barely secured the title, edging out by fractions, not fireworks. One loss, and it would have slipped away. The aura is fading. Opponents who once feared him now play to win. They challenge his prep. They go into wild complications. They dare. And while Magnus is still elite, still brilliant, he's not untouchable anymore. He looks frustrated more often, shakes his head, leaves the board with clenched fists. Emotions that were once buried deep are now showing in the open, and it's not just on the board. In interviews, Magnus has started sounding tired, less invincible, more human. After his loss to Gukesh, he admitted being outplayed. Not a line we're used to hearing from the former world champion. This isn't a collapse. It's not a disaster, but it's something even more shocking. The greatest player of our time is now vulnerable. Asterisk, if there was a single moment where the world realized Magnus Carlsen's reign was truly being tested, happened in the glittering chaos of Las Vegas. Not at a roulette table, but across a 64-square chessboard at the Freestyle Chess Grand Slam 2025, and the players standing across from him are Pragnananda. The format was bold. No opening theory, no memorized lines. It's just raw calculation and instinct chess at its purest. And for a man like Magnus, whose brilliance has always extended beyond prep work, this should have been his home turf. But that's what made what happened next even more shocking. Round 1. Pragnananda played with confidence fluid, calculated, and almost emotionless. He didn't flinch. He didn't overthink. He beat Magnus Carlsen in a clean, composed game. The crowd was stunned. Commentators searched for excuses. But then, round two, it happened again. Pragnananda, the 18-year-old from Chennai, dismantled Magnus with a second win this time, even more convincingly. No blunders. No lucky breaks. Just pure dominance. And in a format designed to neutralize memorization and reward pure chess, Magnus, the man who once redefined pure chess, was outclassed. Social media exploded. Chess Twitter, Reddit, even mainstream media picked it up. Not just because Magnus had lost, but because he'd been beaten by someone whose mother still travels with him to tournaments. Someone who had grown up idolizing Carlsen. It wasn't about points anymore. It was symbolic. For years, Magnus had been the benchmark, the player everyone was compared to. Now, even his wife Ella was quoted saying, "Pragnananda reminds me of Magnus in his younger days." It was a compliment. And a quiet warning, because if Prague is today's Magnus, then who exactly is Magnus now? After the stinging defeats in Las Vegas, many believed Magnus Carlsen had finally been dethroned, not officially, but spiritually. Online debates raged. Analysts whispered that he had lost the fire. Commentators began shifting focus to the new generation. Even his most loyal fans wondered if the king would ever return to form. Then came Norway Chess 2025, Magnus's home turf, symbolic battlefield. This was supposed to be his redemption arc. The narrative was perfect. The champion comes home, tunes out the noise, and reminds the world why he's still the greatest to ever touch a chessboard. But what happened was far from a dominant comeback. Magnus fought hard, but not like the invincible Carlsen of old. His games were tense, indecisive. He drew more often than he won, eking out points in Armageddon rounds. He showed flashes of brilliance, but they came with visible frustration. Missed chances, nervous pacing, grimaces after moves, and all of it was happening in front of his home crowd. Meanwhile, players like Alarsa Farrugia, Fabiano Caruana, and Gukesh were pushing hard. There was no room for Magnus to slip. One misstep and the title was gone. In the final round, with everything on the line, Magnus managed to edge out a win, not a statement victory, at a crushing defeat of a top contender. Place him barely ahead in the standings. He won the tournament, yes, but the celebration felt muted. Even Magnus himself seemed relieved more than proud, and that feeling echoed across the chess world. It wasn't the Magnus we remembered from 2014, obliterating opponents with calm dominance. This was a wounded champion, surviving, and hanging on by calculation and sheer grit. Some fans called it a comeback. Others saw it as proof that the era is fading. Because winning like this doesn't restore the crown, it only delays the handover, and the new generation. They weren't watching in awe, they were preparing for checkmate, asterisk for over a decade. The chess world revolved around one named Magnus Carlsen. But now, the gravitational pull is shifting. And it's not one player causing it, it's an entire wave at the center of that wave. India, once seen as a nation with just one dominant name, Viswanathan and India, has now produced an entire lineup of elite, fearless grandmasters, each one young, talented, and seemingly engineered to attack the throne. Are Pragnananda, calm, intuitive, and surgically precise. Beating Magnus more than once is no small feat, but doing it in different formats, that's historic. Kukashti, cold-blooded in calculation, emotionally unshaken. The youngest player to defeat Magnus in a classical game, of feat that sent shockwaves across the fight rankings. Arjun Eragasi, aggressive, versatile, and relentless. Arjun doesn't wait for opportunities, he forces them. Nihal Sarin, a speed chess monster, feared in blitz and rapid formats, and a rising threat in classical. And even Vishali, our Prague sister, is breaking into elite circles, making India a powerhouse on both the men's and women's fronts. What makes this generation different is not just their talent, but their fearlessness. For them, Magnus Carlsen isn't a myth. He's not some unbeatable god. He's just the guy on the other side of the board. The guy they've studied, dissected, and now beaten. The gap is shrinking, or is evaporating. And here's the part that no one expected. It's not happening gradually. It's happening fast. In just 3 years, the chess ecosystem has changed. Indian prodigies are everywhere in title tournaments, rapid circuits, and global press headlines. They're not just participating, they're winning. Sponsorships are shifting. Attention is redirecting. Now, kids in Chennai, Hyderabad, and Delhi aren't asking how Magnus plays. They're asking how to play like Prague, like Gukish, like Arjun. The future of chess has changed. Zip code Zand for the first time in modern history. It looks like the West might have to catch up. The end of a reign doesn't always come with a dramatic collapse. Sometimes, it comes with a quiet transfer of power. Asterisk Magnus Carlsen may still be winning tournaments. He may still be ranked near the top. He may still have millions of fans, millions in prize money, and a resume no other player can match. But chess isn't about what was, it's about what's next. And right now, what's next is rising faster than anyone imagined. He's still the king for now. But the board has shifted. The pieces are moving against him in ways they never did before. Where once there was fear, there's now belief. Where once there was dominance, now there's doubt. He's gone from being the undisputed champion to the champion under siege. And what's most poetic, the very qualities that made Magnus unbeatable, his creativity, intuition, confidence are now being used against him by a generation that grew up watching his every move. They've studied his wins. They've memorized his style, built their foundations not in the shadows of old legends, but in the blueprint that Magnus himself created. He is the architect of his own opposition. And whether he admits it or not, pressure is real. It's not just one player gunning for his legacy, it's an entire movement. An era defined by youth, tech-savviness, engine prep, and fearlessness. So is this the end of Magnus Carlsen? No, not yet. But for the first time in a very long time, it's no longer his game to lose, it's their game to win. And with every new tournament, it's every shocking upset, and every young prodigy rising out of India, the world of chess moves one step closer.